What if you could buy a multi-unit property in California with little to no money down, have your tenants pay your mortgage, and build long-term wealth at the same time? My guest today is going to show you exactly how that's possible. Welcome back to the channel. I am so excited about today's conversation. I sat down with Alex Nale, a real estate broker, active investor, and community builder right here in Los Angeles, and he dropped so much knowledge. We're talking BRRRR strategy, house hacking, co-living, creative financing, and common mistakes that new investors make, and so much more. Whether you're just starting out or you've been in the game for a while, there is something in this conversation for you. So let's get into it. Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me after you presented at our conference, the Co-Living Business Conference, and I couldn't wait to bring you back on so I could talk to you for my YouTube channel. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the opportunity, Katrina. I really appreciated the conference. You did a phenomenal job putting it together, you and the team, and I'm excited to be back.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely, yes. My name is Alex Nale. First and foremost, I'm a father of three and a husband, and that really drives, that's my why, and that drives, my day to day. I'm very involved in the community and with my family, and I involve them with my business as well, just for exposure and to leave a legacy. And, professionally, I'm a real estate broker and a real estate investor. I'm an active real estate investor here in the Los Angeles, California area. We focus on the BRRRR strategy. And the BRRRR, we've built the BRRRR investor community where we, buy and hold properties utilizing the BRRRR strategy. And we'll touch a little bit more about what it is during this conversation, I'm sure.
Yes.
We also actively do fix and flips. And we've recently embraced the co-living model, which is something that's been extremely exciting. And that's really how, you and I met. So that's a little bit about me.
Nice. And what is BRRRR? I know what BRRRR is, but for my audience who are beginners, what is BRRRR?
So excellent question. So those of you that haven't heard of BRRRR before or have heard of it but wonder the same thing, like what is that, right? So it stands for buy, you rehab, you rent, you refinance, and you repeat the process over again, right? So there's 4 R's there. The last R, the repeat, is important. And the reason behind that is the BRRRR strategy allows you to, recapture your initial investment, and more if possible, right? Depending on appreciation and the way the market is. And then to reinvest that again into the next prop. So typically it's very beneficial, when you're limited on resources, right? When you're trying to stretch your dollar to extend to multiple properties rather than to invest in one property and get stuck with it, right? You can't move your money out for whatever reason. You're over leveraged or you don't have any equity or, you over rehab the property. But that's really BRRRR in a nutshell.
Okay, cool. And then also in my conference, you had mentioned house hacking. Can you tell us a little bit more about house hacking and how that plays into how you invest?
Absolutely, yeah. If we have time, I can also elaborate a little bit more about BRRRR because there's a lot of beautiful reasons why it's good, why it's important, why, many people should consider it. And you can apply it to anything, right? You can apply it to single family, multifamily, condos, whatever you want to do. I've applied it to cars as I reflect back and I realized, what I've done in the past. So to go back to your current question, the house hacking is great. That's really, one of the ways I started, right? Because house hacking allows you to utilize and maximize a lower down payment loan, right? A lower down payment conventional loan, typically, offered for a first-time home buyer or other home buyers that, don't have the means to put like 25% down, right? In my conversation with many individuals, buyers, or just people that are just starting or that, hear about real estate, the conversations I hear, which is mind-blowing, is that many people think that you need 25% or more to buy a house or buy a property, which it's not true, right? It's not true. Obviously, if you're buying an investment property, maybe, right, depending on those scenarios. But if you're buying a property for yourself, there's a lot of options out there that, one, you should learn learn about, or you should connect with the right support, like a realtor in your area, to share, educate you about that. But there are programs that offer you zero down payment, 3% down payment,
Mm.
3.5%, 5%. There are programs that will pay you to buy a property. There are like government
What?
assistance programs. Yeah. So many people don't really know about that. There are CalHAFA programs, in certain areas, certain zip codes, certain, average income for that particular zip code that allows
Mhm.
people to get a lot of benefits. So with that, again, for people that have limited resources, similar to the way I started, I started very, very young in many things that I did. And, you purchase your property by getting a 3%, 5%, whatever it is that fits you, right? Especially if you're a veteran or in the military, or you're related to somebody in the military. There's a secret, there are credit unions out there that you can connect with, that just reach out to me after the call, and I can share more information with you on that. But
Mhm.
they do offer even 0% down payment financing, right?
Right.
By knowing about that and being able to execute on that, you can purchase your first time residence. And if it has a room where you can convert a living space, or for example, for me, the way I started, and it was all accidental, is I even going back to now that we're deep into the co-living one, I asked myself, how the
Mhm.
heck did I get started in real estate investing in general? And then I asked
Right.
myself, how the heck did I get started in real estate in co-living? Because it wasn't recently, it was many years ago, it turns out. And
Mm.
the way I did is I got a master lease from a friend, and I rented out the rooms to other friends and offset my payments and stuff.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah.
how it started. So you can do the same thing with when you purchase a property. So if you live in the property, you can purchase it
Mhm.
as your primary residence, as long as you have the intention to live there for 1+ years, right?
Okay.
After that, depending on what happens, everybody's situation is unique, but it does not prevent you from utilizing a portion of the property for income, right? So if you're
Mhm.
single, or if you're a couple, and you're good to live in a portion of the house and rent out other rooms, or live in a portion of the house and rent out a completely separate part of the house privately, or your garage or something like that, then, or any property that's 4 units and below, you can purchase it with a low down payment conventional loan, right? Anything four
Wow.
units and below is considered primary residence. So you can buy a 4 unit or lower, a 0% down payment. That's what a house hack is. You live in one unit, you rent out the other. It's you benefit from the low interest rate, from the low down payment if your resources are minimal, and then you benefit from other people paying that mortgage. And then in California, the thing that I love most about California is the appreciation, where you hold on to it long
Mhm.
enough, you're going to gain a lot of appreciation. So that's house hacking, and it's
Wow.
amazing.
So that is amazing. So there are a lot of people who follow my page and follow me who don't have the means to put down 20% on an investment property, but you're
Right.
saying that they could get a multi-unit, they could get a two, like a duplex or a triplex or even a fourplex, and live in one of those units and rent out the other ones to get started in real estate. And so house hacking is amazing, because if someone who is just getting into real estate investing could get into like a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex and then rent out those other units, and then they could live in one of those units and they could still benefit from those low down payments.
Absolutely. It's spot on. Exactly. It's
Wow.
it's it's amazing. And then when you complement it with other benefits, again, I'll speak on about California or Los Angeles, specifically, but you complement it with other laws that have come out, like the ADU law, where you can build an accessory dwelling unit. Again, I gotta catch myself,
Mm.
throw out acronyms. So accessory dwelling unit. And that,
Mhm.
again, in California, it started years ago, where it was made like for an in-law suite, or for, when the kids come back from college or things like that. But then that law evolved, where now you can actually utilize them for rental income. It could be rent.
Mhm.
And now recently, about a little over a year ago, now you can sell your ADU just like a condo. So the laws are
That's
evolving. There's a
crazy.
lot for you to know, but the most important thing, and I love what you do, because we have this one thing in common, is that we cater, to the newer investor, the aspiring investor, the underdog, those that were told no, right? You can't do this. This is
Mhm.
not for you, right? Well, no,
Right.
that's not true. this is for all of us. There's enough out there.
Yes.
You just have to know that it's possible and go after and do it. As I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, I think back about how some of the things that I've done along the years, and the milestones, and like I said, the co-living. I'm like, oh man, I've actually started doing this a long time ago. I just never knew or realized that. But
Right.
in a few days ago, May 19th, it was my 26th anniversary for my first investment property that I purchased. And I look back, I'm like, how the heck did I do that? Right. So there are many ways you can do it. It's just you have to be willing to put in the work and connect with the right
Mm-hmm.
people.
Awesome. Awesome. So I know that you've been investing for a long time, 26 years. Do you have properties right now? And are you doing the co living model right now?
Yes, absolutely. So prior, like a year and a half, and prior, we were mainly fix and flipping because we went through a very bull market, with COVID, and the prices just skyrocketed. So we offloaded a lot of our properties. We got into fix and
Mm-hmm.
flipping to ride the wave. And about a year and a half ago, the numbers changed. Right, when you're underwriting the deal, the numbers are not making sense. A lot of investors are hyped up and are paying more than I thought. A property it should get. And again, everybody looks at a property differently, right? We got to be honest on that. So I stopped looking at fix and flip worthy properties, and I started. I identified. Obviously buy and hold was our shift, right? We pivoted to that, but I started identifying properties that fix and flip investors weren't looking at, and the end user buyer is not looking at, or is just too distracted or sitting on the sideline because of interest rates and waiting to see what's going to happen. So I
Mm-hmm.
started, identifying these opportunities, connecting with the sellers, finding out seller motivation, connecting with the agents that are involved in the transactions, and being a solution to that. So to answer your question, that's a long answer to your question. Is that right now the properties that we're doing, we have a couple fix and flips, which ironically, thank God, about half an hour before I jumped on this call, we closed on one of our fix and flips. We got confirmation
Hey,
in Santa Clarita,
awesome.
actually. Yeah. Um,
Oh, wow. That's where I live.
yeah, exactly. So that one was a fix and flip, which I was trying to, I'm trying to find fix and flips. It's just hard to find. We have another one in Inglewood coming to the final stages. That's going to be a fix and flip. The rest we're holding, right? So we have about 8
Mm-hmm.
properties right now. We're expecting to close escrow any minute too on a purchase in North Hollywood, which is an amazing purchase corner lot with a big, large size lot. So that's going to be a full co-living model, and then we're going to
Wow.
develop other properties on there. So yeah, to answer your question, the
Mm-hmm.
properties we're holding are
Mm-hmm.
co-living properties here in LA, but I do
Mm-hmm.
have properties in other states that are just traditional long-term rental.
Okay. Okay. Nice. What's the difference between investing here in California versus elsewhere? Because people always ask me that because all three of my properties are in Texas and I live in California. So everybody's always asking me, well, how come you're not investing in California? What's wrong with investing in California and things like that? So can you kind of talk to the differences there?
Sure, I think we can have a huge separate call just for that because again, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's really specific to everybody, right? I feel anything that people do. That's why for me, when I work with clients, like on a coaching level, it's just strictly one on one because I want to make it curated and personalize it to that person, right? Because that's
Right.
what you owe yourself. You can't just do what I do or what you do or what somebody else does or what Uncle Joe does just because it's working for them. It may not work for you, right? So I want to
Mm-hmm.
preface with that because I'm good. I'm pro both, remote investing and locally, right? For
Mm-hmm.
me right now, I have a huge like it's like I'm in the with the diamonds. I'm just polishing diamonds here. Why should I go somewhere else, right? So for me, I'm
Right.
very bullish on LA area for many reasons because there's a lot of laws, a lot of pros, despite the cons that are out there because there are cons everywhere. So as far as investing out of state, sometimes it could be better where, this way you force yourself to hand it to that professional. And, if as long as you have somebody that you can trust, that you can build that team outside, and especially have the right
Mm-hmm.
property manager, have the right contractor, agent outside. If you have that right team, then, I think it's great to invest out of state, especially if you're like really busy where you don't want to have to deal with anything because you can't drive to the property, right?
Right.
Um, However, with that, so now as far as investing, in your backyard, again, your backyard meaning wherever it is, right? In general, it's good because you have control over it, and sometimes a control allows you to spend more time than you should in the property. But depending if you're retired, right? Some people are retired, some people are working professionals. So that's why I say it really depends, and it should be curated to that person. So I say
Hmm.
it could be both. So sorry, it wasn't a very specific answer. It could be both, and you really have to, find out what is the right thing for you. Don't go
Hmm.
out of state, chasing just if you are in California or in a state where the price point is a little bit expensive. Don't go out of California just because of that reason, right? I can show you ways where you can probably afford more property in California than you can in other states that is a fraction of the cost of the property because we know what we know, right? With experience, with the connections, with knowing the products that are out there and everything, and being able to utilize that, thinking outside the box versus just being cookie cutter. You find a property, you make an offer, you get it, or you don't get it. No, it doesn't work that way. So it's really hard to find the right team outside. It's really hard to trust the right people. So that the answer is, it just really depends on you, but make that decision very thoughtfully and just don't go for the wrong reasons because it's cheaper because you end up buying I've seen people buy properties in states that are $100,000, $200,000, but they can't even get rid of them now because now they're like an
Mm.
expense. The cash flow that they thought they were getting doesn't exist because of repairs, and there's zero appreciation, and the properties are deteriorating in harsh weather conditions. So with that,
Wow.
that's in
That
general. So for me,
knowledge is
yeah.
power. Yeah, because I was just thinking, yeah, I need to talk to you, Alex, because that's part of the reason why I invest out of state, out of California, is because of the price. But you know so much about other options for being able to finance these deals. So I need to talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be my answer to you. Like for me, my answer is not out of state. No matter where you are, LA is the area. Like I have, investors in Illinois that we became very very close, and they were investing out there, and then they saw what I'm doing out here. Now they're here with me investing, right? So it doesn't matter if
Mm.
you live in LA. So that's why I want to say it could be remote investing, it could be in your backyard, but ultimately it's Los Angeles for me because of the
Okay. All right.
appreciation. If we
Right.
take away if we find out your challenges, if your challenges are you're just the means of getting the property because of the down payment, then that you should not let that prevent you from investing in a place where you can get significant appreciation.
Wow. Do you also help with commercial properties?
I do, yes. So we can do residential and commercial. We're
Hmm.
licensed in California. However, we have a referral network all over the United States, and we're expanding internationally.
Wow. Okay. That's good to know, just for personal reasons too. So, what common mistakes are there that investors make when they're just starting out for a newbie? What kind of mistakes do you see people make?
So that's an awesome question. There are, quite a few very common mistakes. One, people tend to want, I say trip on dollars to pick up pennies, right? So want to try to
Mm.
do it themselves, want to try to cut corners. They think they're going to save money. Trust me, one slap in the face with a mistake that you make could cost you 10x what a coach or a mentor would have costed you, that they can save you that just by avoiding that little situation, right? So that is very
Right.
common. Another common mistake I see is people obviously make the wrong purchase decision. If they over rehab a property, they use incorrect finishes for the property, whether too much or too low grade for that particular property, not understanding the end user or so forth, right? You don't rehab a fix and flip the same way as you rehab a rental, and then you don't rehab a rental the same way in, let's say, Beverly Hills as you do in Silmar, right? It just
Hmm.
doesn't work that way. You have to understand it. So those are some of the very common things, but the biggest thing is really trying to do it yourself. I get it, there's nothing wrong with learning and growing and evolving and doing things yourselves, but I think the less you do, the more you can grow, right? The less you
Hmm.
learn along the way, but find people to do it for you, right? Delegate that out
Right.
because it slows you down when you're scaling. Like I'm at a place in my profession, in my business, where we're scaling very fast and we're growing, and you feel the growing pains gains if you don't have the right team with you. So start
Mm-hmm.
early on by doing that. Get mentorship, get coaching, take your time finding that right person that connects with you. Don't go spending money on coaches randomly and not doing anything, right? Because it
Right.
takes you to one other mistake that people do. Don't hire a coach and then do what they tell you not to do, right? If you hire
Right.
somebody that tells you to do this and then you do something else, do not do that. Don't waste your
Right.
money. Be thoughtful about the things you do, and you can really save a lot of money by paying money. You get what you pay for.
Right.
It's a common thing that.
So what do
So
you
the few
coach on?
mistakes that I see out there.
Mm-hmm. What do you coach on?
What do I coach on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your coaching program?
So my coaching program, like I mentioned, is strictly one-on-one coaching. So we obviously established that, one, we're going to be the right fit, right? Because I don't want to onboard a client where what their needs are not going to be something that I can offer them, right? I can't offer them value or support in that. Like if you're going to come and tell me mobile homes, that's great. I feel that's a great investment, but that's not my niche, right? That's not an area that I can help you with. So initially is establishing that, what you're looking to do is something that I can help you with, right? And we have, we can connect, and we have, we're aligned in certain ways that we're going to have enjoy working together, because I'm very protective of my time, right? Because if I'm going to
Right.
take on a client, then I'm not going to take on another client, right? So I have to be very protective of my time, and that's that. So when we do establish that relationship, I create a plan based on your goals, where you are, right? What are your needs? What do you
Mm-hmm.
need, right? Do you need resources? Do you need just, help with the rehab? Do you need the contractors? Do you need to underwrite properties? So I coach on all of the above, right? As to how to acquire the
Okay.
property, how to get the financing, private money financing, raising private money, the contractor, what finishes to use, the staging, A to Z, soup to nuts. But again, it really goes back to what does that person need, and we
Mm-hmm.
cater to that. And typically, our clients, in the mentorship program are usually just, beginners or aspiring investors, or those that have done a deal or two and maybe have made a mistake along the way and still have the courage to want to continue, but know better to do it, continue doing it on their own.
Okay. So if I'm new to real estate investing, I could come to you with my specific situation and what I want to get into, and you could offer mentorship on that to me. That's what it
Correct.
sounds like, right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
Awesome.
And part of the
Okay.
mentorship is, again, taking you, not just, talking about things and just doing things virtually online and so forth, actually taking you to properties and looking at them, seeing why this and not that, what you should watch out for. And typically it's in the single family realm, right? Do I do
Okay.
multifamily? Absolutely. However, I'm more valuable to you in the space of 4 units and below, especially in the creative space, right? Where,
Hmm.
if you have ability to add units, to add value to the property, that's where we can help a lot more.
Okay. Okay. And then in the co-living space, so I know that you're involved in some new co-living properties. Is that from ground up, or is that renovating properties to turn it into co-living?
So the ones we're doing now are renovating. The one I mentioned to you that we're hoping to close on any minute now, because it has that extra land, that would be both, right? The main house is going to
Okay.
be renovating, and then
Hmm.
the garage will be converted to an ADU, and then the land that we have would be ground up. So it's going to be a mix of
Okay.
all of the above. For now, it's just renovating. And,
Hmm.
to the previous question is like, if somebody's interested in the co-living, for example, we help them set it up from A to Z, right? Some people end up wanting
Hmm.
to get into real estate, but are, professionals and think they have to be hands-on. No, then that's where we share with them that there are passive ways to invest in real estate, right? Whether with me
Hmm.
or somebody else. Some of my clients have reached a level where now they're raising money for their deals, as I do for myself, right? And for
Hmm.
co-living is we help you set it up, and we have a list, by the way, if any of your audience wants to receive a list of all the items that we furnish a co-living in, we have that as well, like the bed, the mattress that we use, the mattress cover, the sheets, all of that, the locks that we use and stuff.
Nice.
We provide that as a
Hmm.
resource as well to all our clients. This way we facilitate it, but it really depends on the space that they want to get into.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So when you're looking at properties and you're kind of evaluating, is this going to be a good investment? What are you looking for? Like, what's in your buy box?
Yeah, that's very important to have and be very clear about that, right? So, with us, we again we do ground up, we do rehab. We know what we can do, the value add opportunities out there, the areas that
Hmm.
we have density increases from the local government, and fix and flip the burst strategy, and then the co-living now, right? And then you have you can incorporate other strategies. So with that in mind, when I look at a property, I'm approaching it with one thing, but I have to have multiple exit strategies, right? I can't go into a
Okay.
property, okay, I want to underwrite this for a fix and flip, but if that doesn't work, what happens next, right? It has to be a great fix and flip, but it also has to work for something else, especially in this very volatile market right now. And like I mentioned, about a year and a half ago, things shifted, so we had to be very, very thoughtful about the fix and flips that we have. Are we able to hold on to them? So yes, I underwrite it as a, so right now, for example, if you bring me a property for a buy and hold, I might say, hey, let's hold on, we're closing on too many right now. I'm looking for two. If you bring me today two fix and flips, I'm all over it if the numbers make sense. So how do I look at that? Is I underwrite it as a fix and flip, right? 70% of ARV, to use like a very basic common number. However, I'm more thoughtful than that, right? There's a
Hmm.
lot more formulas that I incorporate in it, but for an easy number, that's an average I would use. So I would underwrite it, see if it meets my criteria, right, number wise. That's one. Number two, I also look at an aerial map. I want to see where it's located. Is it in an area that I'm bullish on? I'm interested in. Is it near freeways or not? Doesn't mean I'm not
Mm.
okay with a freeway. We have a property right now that's near a freeway, no problem, right? It just we have to take that into consideration. Everything really matters. Is it on septic? Is it not? Is it a corner lot? Does it have alley access? All that stuff comes into play, right? Because if it's a
Hmm.
good flip and it has a lot of these other things check boxes, it makes it also a great buy and hold. And then
Right.
if you incorporate traditional buy and hold again and the co-living and Airbnb, you're protecting yourself. You're adding these extra layers of protection, right?
Hmm.
Because this doesn't work, that works, that works, that works. And that's really how I like to set myself up and my investors, based on that, right? So it's a
Hmm.
great flip, my numbers are great, it's off of all the steps that we take. However, it's also an amazing, so I have a hard time sometimes when I buy a property. I'm like, oh my god, this is also a great one to keep, but it's also an excellent. So having those
Yep.
dilemmas are great problems to have, but
Hmm.
you have to be very specific and very, some people will send me like my buy box is a million or under right now, right? If I get one at a million one, would I not look at it? I know how to underwrite properties quickly, and time is of the essence, and you have to be efficient,
Hmm.
especially when you're underwriting a lot of properties. So within like maybe 30 seconds or less, I can identify if this property is worth looking at any further, right? So I'll
Mm.
invest 30 seconds in a property that's outside my buy box. That's in case you always have to be open to an opportunity, but don't be open to a distraction. If there's significant upside or there's a specific scenario on this one, a distress situation. Otherwise, it's a million and below if you send me. Otherwise, I'm going to just brush it off. And then I look at the property right away. If I see that it meets the criteria for me to be worth spend more time on it, then I run comps and then I go deeper into
Hmm.
it. But before that,
Okay.
there are a lot of factors that you have to look at to see if it's a good deal or not.
Hmm. You are a wealth of knowledge. You're just so full of knowledge. Okay, everybody, wasn't that just an amazing conversation? I told you, Alex came and gave us everything from house hacking to BRRRR, co living to coaching. I honestly could have talked to him for hours, and you know what? I would have, but life happens and my internet actually crashed. But what I love most about Alex is that he genuinely wants to see people win, especially those of us who have been told that real estate just isn't for us. That is not true, and he proves it. If you want to connect with Alex, learn more about his coaching, or just follow his journey as an investor, go follow him on his Instagram right now. His link is in the description below. And trust me, you want him on your radar. And if you found value in this episode, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with somebody who needs to hear this message. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.